Last week, the 2023 hurricane season got off to a quick start with a string of storms developing. If you are new to Florida or thinking about moving to Florida, this video is for you to help you be prepared before the dreaded cone is targeting your town. This channel has everything to do with living in Southwest Florida. If that's the information you're looking for, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to be notified about all future videos. When we moved to Florida in 2013, we had experienced a Category 1 hurricane in North Carolina. And to be honest, I thought that we were mentally and overall prepared for hurricanes, having gone through that. That storm left us in North Carolina with no power for multiple days, and it was what I now know as a walk in the park. It was nothing. So when Hurricane Irma came through, we were totally unprepared for what to expect and what we needed to have prepared for the storm and what the aftermath was going to be like. This video will give you some survival tips for surviving the hurricane season and some tips that you need to be prepared for when the dreaded cone comes your way. Hurricane survival tip number 1. Subscribe to Mike's weather page on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. When a storm is approaching, you need a rational source of information, and that is what I have found in Mike. He is very calm and understandable when the storms are approaching. When he starts hitting weekly or hourly posts, you know that there's a situation brewing and it's time to get your plans into action. Hurricane survival tip number 2 is listen to the public officials in your city or county. When they tell you to evacuate, please evacuate. I'll tell you from personal experience, one of my dear friends, she debated whether to evacuate from Hurricane Ian, and her family said, you know what, Mom, you gotta evacuate. And I'm so glad that she did. Her house was flooded with over 5 feet of water. Her roof was ripped off by the wave action, and she probably would have become a statistic with her life, not just her damaged house. So no matter what, listen to the public officials. When they tell you to leave, leave. The saying goes, shelter from the wind, run from the rising water. Hurricane survival tip number 3 may sound a little strange to you, but I have found it to be probably one of the more important tips for surviving the hurricane season. And that is, pay attention to the true Floridians. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, get to know your neighbors. The ones that have lived here in Florida or lived in the area for many, many years and have gone through multiple storms. When they start to prepare, you know that it's time to get busy. Because you know, the hurricanes always happen like this. It's a beautiful sunny day, you're enjoying the beach. You look at your phone, and you see Mike's weather page going crazy. He's updating every hour, every 30 minutes going live. You know there's trouble brewing. You head home, you see your neighbor is starting to work around their property and board up their house. Well, it's time to be prepared. But here's the problem. If you haven't already prepared, it's probably too late. So now we're going to go into my preparation tips for the hurricane season. My first preparation tip is for everyone that lives along coastal Florida. Whether you're a homeowner or renter, this applies to you. It actually might even apply more to renters too, because you don't have control over everything around your property, right? So the first tip is make sure that you are prepared to live in your house for 4 to 7 days without electricity and not much of anywhere to go. So start by creating a list or an emergency kit of the essentials that you need to live in your house after the storm. Non-perishable food. For me, it was coffee. We had to make sure that we had the ability to make coffee, right? Water. That is probably the most important thing. You need multiple gallons of water. You need to last 4 to 7 days, because keep in mind, even if you have public water, there's a good possibility that that water will not be drinkable for multiple days. I remember after Hurricane Irma, Collier County had multiple days of issues with their water processing plants. There was no electricity in the area, so there was no water being processed by the plants. So you need to make sure that you have multiple days of water. Make sure you have flashlights, batteries for those flashlights. If you can run a generator, make sure you have a safe place to run a generator outside. Do not run it inside. So you have to plan where you're going to have the generator. If you're going to run a generator, do you have enough gasoline to power that generator? Medication. If you are on medications, make sure that you have a stockpile of that medication. You're not going to run out. Oftentimes, doctors will issue prescriptions for emergency fills, and pharmacies will also be a little more lenient when it comes to filling them. Talk to your doctor, talk to the pharmacy if you are on a prescription and you are getting close to running out. It's very likely the pharmacy and the doctor will not be working after the storm too. Now, after the storm, why do you need 4 to 7 days? Most storms last 24 hours at most. Well, the reality is there isn't much driving around happening after the storm. And even if you are able to drive, there's not a whole lot of gas, and very likely the stores and restaurants aren't going to be open for multiple days as well. Whether they have employees or maybe they don't even have electricity, you're going to need to be able to be independent during that time. For many people, and I know for myself, the worst part of the hurricanes is not the storm itself. It's the 4 to 7 days afterwards of hot, sweaty humidity without the luxuries of life. My second tip is know how to prepare your home for the storm even before a storm is forecasted. I remember learning how to put up my storm shutters in the hours before Hurricane Irma. Let's just face it, it was hot, it was miserable, the stress was intense. There were a few arguments around the house, so it was not fun. Had I practiced putting up my shutters beforehand, a whole lot less stress would have happened. After Hurricane Irma, there was some damage to my storm shutters, and I actually waited until Hurricane Ian was starting to approach the southwest coast. So I quickly ran before there was any alerts or any warnings, and I made sure that I got the items that I needed to fix my storm shutters. So I learned from Hurricane Irma that I needed to make sure I knew how to do things, and I learned from Hurricane Ian that I better make sure that my shutters are always in working condition, because when the forecast is made and the storm is headed your way, Lowe's and Home Depot become madhouses. They become insane. And what I found this last time during Hurricane Ian was no one in the store really knew where anything was. So I spent a ton of time searching just for one little piece that I needed, and that time would have been better spent at home getting my shutters off. So be prepared, know how to work your shutters. If you don't have hurricane shutters and you need to use wood, don't wait till the storm is coming to get wood. Everybody else is doing that too. So be prepared, know how to protect your home. If you have impact glass, well, be fortunate, be happy that you can just sit back and relax and watch everyone else putting up their shutters. Preparation tip number 3 is prepare your property. Take a walk around your property even before the hurricane's forecasted. Are there any trees or landscaping that needs to be done in order to protect your home, your cars, your fences, or even your neighbor's property? take the time to cut that branch down or cut that tree down before it falls on your home or the neighbor's home. Do you have any items that are outside, like pool furniture or decorations that you can pick up? If you can pick up the item, it's very likely that 100-mile-an-hour winds will use that item as a projectile. So what do you do with it? Well, if you can put it in the garage, obviously it's best to get it completely out of the weather. But for things like pool furniture, which are designed to get wet, just simply dump them in your pool. The water will hold them in there, and they'll be there ready for you when it's time to enjoy the 4 to 7 days without electricity. They're doing nothing. You can have your furniture ready to go as soon as you just pull it out of the pool. My next tip, well, it is a hot button issue right now in Florida. Tip number 4 is have your insurance in place. Before the storm is forecasted, make sure that you have reviewed your insurance policies. When the storm is forecasted to hit the United States, many insurance companies stop binding or starting insurance coverage. They call it the box. When the storm enters the box, no longer will they allow you to bind coverage. So you could be caught without insurance. Now, I spent 20 years in the insurance industry before I got into real estate. I get it. No one, and I repeat, no one likes paying for insurance that you may never use. And honestly, I hope you will never ever have to use your homeowners or renters insurance policies. But in the event of a storm or a loss, you will be so grateful that you spent the time to review and purchase your homeowners and renters insurance policies. One of the areas that many people try to cut corners on in insurance is flood insurance. Reality is that most of Florida is in a flood zone, and if you have a mortgage, you are obligated to have flood insurance. But if you paid cash for your home or you have paid off your mortgage, you aren't required to carry insurance. So some people have chosen, because of the cost of flood insurance, not to cover the home. Well, after Hurricane Ian, many of the homes that still sit unrepaired today were homeowners that didn't have flood insurance. So to save a few $1,000s, they now have hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss. Another area that you want to check on your flood insurance policy, because it's not a normal policy limit policy, is to make sure that you have enough insurance to cover replacing the drywall, replacing your cabinets, replacing potentially the electrical wiring in the home because of a flood. You need to make sure that you're covering enough to repair the home. Next, don't cut corners on your property insurance. I've had more than one conversation with homeowners that have been buying homes here as a real estate agent, and they ask, do I really need to have coverage like screen enclosure coverage or other structures coverage? Trying to save $200, $300, $400, $500 doesn't justify losing or being out the cost to replace that $25,000 screen enclosure that is covering your pool. One of the weakest points of the house in a hurricane is the pool enclosure. And you need to make sure that if you have a pool enclosure, that your policy covers it. Many Florida policies exclude it on the base policy. So make sure you've talked to your insurance agent and have added back in screen enclosure coverage. Also, you need to know what type of wind coverage you have. Is it named stormed or just hurricane coverage? Or is it a wind deductible? There are all types of coverages, and you do need to make sure that you understand when your wind coverage kicks in, and make sure that you do have wind coverage. Some of the older homes, older roofs, policies are being issued without wind coverage. That is a nightmare in the event of a hurricane. It's not worth the risk. Find a better insurance policy that's covering wind. Finally, in the insurance category of things, once you have gone through a few storms, you start to relax a little bit. The Hurricane 1 or Hurricane 2 storms don't sound and aren't as bad as they used to be. And you say, well, do I really need to put up the storm shutters? Do I really need to protect my home for this storm or the chance of this storm? It's important that you understand your policy. Many insurance policies have triggers for whether coverage is in place or not in place when it comes to whether it's a named storm. So know if your policy requires you to put your storm protection up. You don't want to have a branch through your window and call your insurance company and have them tell you, well, you didn't put your storm shutters up, so there's no coverage for replacing that window. My fifth and final tip is know your tolerance before the storm. During Hurricane Irma, our house rattled violently for 24 hours. The garage door was coming in by 6 to 8 inches when I was standing out in the garage. Our front door was hard to get out because of the wind pressure, and the rain was just pelting the house. If we had panicked and needed to get out of the house, we wouldn't have been able to leave because it was too late. So know your tolerance. Before the storms come, have a plan of know where you can go if you decide that you don't want to stay for the hurricane. Your local area may have storm shelters that you can go to. Or is there a family member or a hotel where you can go? Have multiple plans. I remember Hurricane Irma rode up the coast all the way up into Georgia. Many people thought they were out of the storm by just going to Tampa, but they ended up having to sit out the storm anyways in a hotel in Tampa. Now, the funny thing is this. Well, not so funny. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. My family in Hurricane Irma had a foster child with us. And this child was an infant, only a couple months old. And we had made the decision that we were going to leave before Hurricane Irma came up the coast. But we couldn't get permission from the parent to leave until it was too late. By the time that we got permission to leave, the roads were packed, gas was in a shortage in northern Florida, so there really wasn't anywhere to go. So you need to make sure that you decide early enough if you are going to leave. My bonus tip is make sure that you plan for your pets. This is Gizmo. Below me is Flynn, my golden doodle. Do you have pet food? If you're going to leave, can you take them with you? Make sure you have a plan in place for the special ones in your family. I hope this video has helped you know how to survive and prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. Remember that knowledge is power. Staying informed is key to being ready for the storms. Connect with Mike's weather page, listen to the local authorities, and make sure that when the Weather Channel has shown up in town, you know you're ready because you've done everything beforehand. One of the beautiful things about Southwest Florida that I've been always amazed at is after the storm, the spirit and the resilience and the restoration that happens is amazing. People help out and put aside everything that's going on in the world, and the good of people come out. I'm here to help you with your research into how to prepare for hurricanes. I'm here to help you with your research of where to live in Southwest Florida. Anything I can do, call me at 239-450-5786. I look forward to helping you with whatever your needs be.